Hello. I made this setup not only because I want to start recording here, but also because I want to start recording here. So, and I always think it's better like to divide the room into two spaces. So I am dividing. Before I was kind of more integrated with my daughter's playroom side, but now I have my own space, so that's really good. And I can do more stuff, and I can see properly in the screen how things look. And I want to talk about today about an important and forgotten part of making images, be that just moving images or photographs and art in general, and how we're thinking about it nowadays, and how sometimes it's a little bit frustrating with, when you work with photography and something similar, because there are some things that are expected from you nowadays, especially regarding the social medias and digital art and digital photography and this kind of thing, which is things are not meant to be this size, which is the projection, for example, or the prints here, which are not prints, they're the actual thing. But things are not meant to be seen on the wall, they're not meant to be seen on paper, they're meant to be seen in a really, really small device that I'm filming with right now. So that changes a lot how we view image making. And that changes a lot how people value image making. Because, of course, there is no point, for example, in a matter of like talking about how the brands and how the agencies are, investing money into film and into photography. Of course, there is a difference, always, but to the eyes of the unexperienced person, there's not enough difference that it's worth, paying a lot of money to have this team make images that are gonna go to your cell phone. So there's no point of hiring someone that has a $100,000 camera to work with you, because it makes no sense. You're gonna see it in theory, of course, if you only think about that on your cell phone, and the cell phone is not even gonna have a screen that's like can make any difference into watching 8K raw image. So it really doesn't make sense, if you think about it, that people are hiring these like extremely specialized people to make images for them, in the sense of making images. And then we start talking about content and how I view image making nowadays. And by nowadays, I mean like since we started like marketing imagery online broadly, like it's a market that we can work in, that I have worked in my entire life. And that has its values, has its value, but it also has its just like misinterpretations by the part of the person hiring an image making person. So because there is so much content, and the content is so fastly eaten, basically, not even consumed, like swallowed by the amount of people making content, it doesn't have as much value as we are taught we had. You know, like as an image making person, you have to think about so many things and how everything changes everything, really. It's like so many technical aspects and so many creative aspects that go into image making, that when you see the lack of value that social media requires in terms of image, you start understanding your positioning, I think, or you should start understanding and not so much complaining about how your art is viewed, because it is in a place that lessens the value of the image. So we are talking about image making nowadays as a market normally. Not everyone, of course. There are galleries and spaces and like concerts, for example, where you can make images too. But the majority of people are working and making images for people's cell phones. And it's no problem, but it has much less value than if you're gonna do an outdoor, or if you're gonna do a film that is gonna go to an artist's LED panel for his or her concert, because that has a lot of value. That makes the concert like something else that is not just the artist singing with his band or group or whatever it is. It has like moving images on the back, and that makes the experience of making his or her thing more valuable. Like you're actively giving more value by putting moving images on a LED panel. You know, just think about how many people are there to like make the LED thing work. You know, the panel, it's normally a huge, extremely expensive and, you know, high-tech panel. And you need construction people, you need like IT people, you need an engineer probably, depending on the country, of course. You need so many things to make that thing work. And then it doesn't become like you're not negotiating just like, oh, I made this art. You're negotiating like the whole thing and what comes with it and the value that it has, and not like the actual value of people's work. But, you know, this is a thing. Like making this image requires people, and requires not only that, but the creative side of things. And people just view more value in that, if we want to be extremely, you know, just bland about making images. So I've been thinking about that a lot. I've already done, like for concerts and for my own art. Like I have this projector that I bought just to like project when I was studying in Berlin. And like I like this offline setup, like more than recording here. I'm not thinking of making this place because I'm gonna record. I'm gonna make this place into something that I can visualize what my art can look like on the wall, or it can look like if I add projection with something else, although this is a very, very like non-artistic way of presenting something, but it's like natural and I like it. Like I like to test, like, okay, this table here now gives this vibe, and these pictures on the wall gives this kind of feeling. And that's what, for me, moving images and just regular images are about. For me, it putting these things together have a meaning. These pictures together have a meaning of some kind of eye symmetry. When I look here, my eyes, they need to see every single image. Like this image tells me to go to this one, then to this one. Then the ear tells me to go to the mouth. And the picture on top tells me to go to the next one. And, it's a loop of eye candy for me, because it's mine, of course. Everyone is going to think that their art is nice, I think. Or like if you really try to present and not just make, if I look at these things for what they are, they're pictures and portraits. And, there is not enough value in just like making pictures and portraits. And it's even like just marker pictures. But there is the thought behind making these and the thought behind putting them on the wall. And already this has so much more value, because here we can I can receive people and we can talk about things, and it already gives this, more than a gallery or a museum where you just go and you're like faced with this non-interactive and more passive way of looking at things. I like to think of images and art as a interacting communication space where you can put people together and they're gonna talk about it, or they're gonna be inspired or belonging to the space that feels natural for them to participate. And this is what I like to bring into my art, into my thinking of space and image. It needs to be understanding. It needs to have understanding by the other person that this is a space that is alive. It's not dead. You're not just gonna pass by it. You're not gonna be... What's gonna strike you is not the complexity of the thing, but the naturality of the thing. That's how I think I like to consume art. I don't like to go to a gallery and just take a walk around. And of course, I really love talking about the motifs and, the history behind every aspect of the art making. But it's just not natural to think of art as this space, and maybe it's this is the way of thinking art that can make a lot of people consume it. Not everyone is interested in the process of it and to be in the space that feels natural. It's more about oh, I saw this, I finally saw this artist that I like. So, I mean, there is this side, but there's the side of okay, it's not possible that people are not thinking about making this natural space where you can just be in, and it's not about just seeing the art, but it's about making a conversation, or drinking some soda, just hanging with people in an artistic spot. And that for me, in terms of value of image making, makes the images that are here so much more important, because they participate in making not only my day when I come here and, you know, look at this, because this inspires me. I just put everything here so I can say like actual things that inspired me. But I used to like do co-working, and people would get inspired by seeing my shit on the wall and seeing like the mess I made, but it's here and it's alive. And we had friends with ateliers that had the same thing, you know. And it's more common for people who are painting and, you know, just making the regular art on the wall. It's more common for them. But for digital and slash people that are like mixed artists, it's more difficult to think that, or especially people that are more digital than physical. So yes, let's make more things more naturally, and like create this space where we can talk about things, where we can show things, and, you know, hang and dance and just do shit naturally. I think if I have a dream, is to create a space that like can receive loads of people and they can all just hang there. No, you know, pretentiousness. Just hang here. Here are some people making art, and it's open, truly open. It's not like open because you don't pay to enter. It's like maybe you should pay to enter a place that has so much value, in my opinion, because it's not for people who are not wanting that. Also, it's really specific, in my opinion. It's like it's not something that is for someone that doesn't want it. I don't know how to explain that. Like, you need to want it to be able to enjoy it, and to be able to, you know, let yourself enjoy a space that is made to create and for actual art, and not just like posting on Instagram again, and like these just like pretentious, you know, unalive spaces that get into people's minds that it's like cool to go to the museum or the gallery. But as soon as we see something that it's alive, that it's like pulsating with art, it's harder for people to accept and like engage into these spaces. So I would like to see people do that, and I would love, if I had a dream, I would love to open this space where there are people making art and people live in art and having, you know, not parties, but just like people hanging without thinking if it's a party or if it's not a party. Like, just come and hang, and we're gonna talk about things, and this could be art or not. It's just like a well communicated place where we talk and hang. So yeah, on another note, on making images, Tunico, a friend and an incredibly talented artist from Rio, just released 2 singles that I had the pleasure of creating moving images to, and creating also the album covers for the 2 singles. And these album covers, they are related to my my own work. As you can see here, it's actually, it was my work started with, like it was the first person that I photographed um, in order to, capture what is this person that plays jazz in Rio in 2025, although he didn't start in 2025, of course. But what is this independent artist? If you wanted to meet this person, who would it be? And how would it look like? And we have then these images that I took, and they're also here in other formats, but the picture is a part of that, and it was, of course, like the intention was just to capture this present Tunico from 2025, and we could also, of course, use these images to make it to his album cover. So we did that. And Mr. Chris Bullock also is there. An amazing sax player, sorry. And it was just the funniest gig to participate in Igloo Studio in Rio. And it was just so much fun making of this song that is so complex in such a small space. Like there's something really funny about it, because it was like a big band, not big band, but like a good amount of musicians, and in a tiny space where I needed to record them. Like this was really interesting. Recording video, of course, I didn't record audio. But this was so interesting because the name of the song is Nem Parece Novembro. It doesn't look like November. In Rio, November is like not the same as Stockholm and in European countries. So it's the extreme opposite. It's getting really warm in November, and everything's just like so hard to do because it's so warm. And in Europe, it's just getting so cold. So it's the extreme opposite. We just passed November also. And this year, when Tunico wrote this song, it was the opposite. It was so rainy and so cold in November in Rio, which is weird. And he made the song thinking about that, and when he talked to me about this song, I heard it, and I love Tunico's music. I just love it. I love his first album, and of course I've seen him play for as long as I remember meeting him, and the guy is just extremely talented, and everyone that plays with him also, of course, but I met him first, let's say. And Nem Parece Novembro then became a thing of like, we didn't have so much budget, of course. It's an independent artist, and I like to keep my work with them as well. Although it would be like super nice to create with other bigger artists. I think what I am searching for will come from people that are living the natural, as I was talking about before. Like it's not gonna be Hatch, who I worked with also, but it's such a huge artist that I just can't take things out of them. Like there's so many layers that I need to undress before we can talk naturally to each other, even though I think I would be able. I think making this project with independent artists makes just so much more sense because it feels so much more natural to me. And I want to talk about people, real people that, are playing jazz in the streets and in the bars and just like living life as most of us will live, and not have this idea that to be a successful artist you need to, you know, be a huge star. So for me, they are bigger than huge artists. They are making art alive that is there to be consumed, to be, you know, consumed while you're living, and not just stopping your life to like see them as, you know, these just emperors of fame, you know? Like when you see a Tunico concert, you're probably like having your 20th beer in Rio, and just like completely drunk, you're smashed, and it's just a completely other experience. You're seeing this like band in a very tiny place, and sometimes you can see them in the theater as well, but this tiny place has the soul that music lacks. And Tonico plays these songs again and again and again every week. And normally there was no one to like record that, although everyone recorded with their cell phones, but there was nobody thinking of like image making with Tunico. And because he has this way of changing the space into something else that I feel it's artistic and it's like alive. And if you're drunk or high enough to like be there and experience the sound, you're gonna feel like the world is just changing completely, and you're like driven with the band to this metaphorical space. At least that's my view on it. Like for so many times you're just like looking at them playing, and then when you realize, you're like, oh my god, I'm in this bar here. That's crazy. And with so much energy also. So when Tonico asked me to make this music video, which I didn't think of, I didn't think of making a music video. I thought about making just documenting what they were doing, because it's the way that things are done that are so beautiful to me, and so like calm, and everything, it's just not made in the way that American movies portray it normally. It's like, it's not something huge that it's just like a guy that is waking up in his home, and then he goes to play, and when he plays, then that's when things change. And so I'm gonna just put here what we recorded. We recorded this song and another song also that is called Canção de Ninar Gatinhos, which is this one also. So we have also on another studio we recorded the same thing, but this was just about the image making, and I thought, like, how can this be portrayed? And it's just a nostalgic song in itself, It's just like, you want to listen to this while you're petting your cat, literally. And it's like, the song is called a song to ninar, is to make one sleep. So a song to make cats sleep. And it is exactly that. You can feel like the smell of coffee and the little cold night creeping in your living room. And it was just like so nice to record this. The studio was so special. But let's see Nem Parece Novembro first. and it's just like, regular. Of course, this cut is like completely different than what was before, but I understand that it wouldn't be my cut, but it's a cut that makes people in social media like it, and that's it. And then this camera comes as like this space bending thing that happens when you hear Tunico play live, and I was trying to make the same feeling of like this distortion of space-time when you're there listening to this complex album, and it's just the most beautiful thing in my opinion. And this was a concert in Cecilia Meirelles, which is a theater in Rio, and it's just like a mishmash of these three situations, which is a documentary slash this experimental space slash live music. Okay, I should have put more. This is so much fun. And it's nice to see it big, of course. Like if you see it in the screen, it doesn't give you the illusion that this gives, So it's supposed to be there in this size and not in the smaller size. My neighborhood, it was really close to my house, so I miss it a lot. Yeah, so check it out. I'm not gonna see the whole thing because it goes to just another part, but it's basically that. And then Canção de Ninar Gatinhos, which is just like a studio recording. And it's just like, enjoy it. It's not about looking beautiful, it's about just having these moments and like be in depth with listening to music there in the studio, and I want to make people understand how it was to be there. And we should have taken these things out of the piano, but before people were like, no, it's gonna be nice. This looks nice, and then in the image it doesn't look nice. It just reads Carolina completely. Well, I'm gonna go through that also. So, yeah. Check Tunico's stuff out. Am I recording? Yes, I'm recording. Check Tunico's stuff. It's nice. Give a like to the boy on YouTube, Instagram, whatever you see his stuff. It's really good. I love it. I love working with friends and with talented friends. And yes, that's it. That's all I wanted to say today. Ciao.